From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Wow Report. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonders, joined by my inestimable co-stars, the lights of my life, Tom Campbell and Jane St. James.
We're here.
Hi,
we made
Fenton.
it.
Yes, together again.
Normally, we count down top 10 things that made us go,
Wow.
wow. Little tweak.
Little special episode.
Because last night on HBO was the premiere of Liberty, Mother of Exiles, which is a documentary that Randy and I have been working on
Tirelessly.
For,
It's like an elephant gestation is what it is. It was like 3
full years.
Yes, we started work on this in 2016 before the election, little imagining that everything that would happen would only make the statue and what she stands for, Lady Liberty, even more relevant. But now it's finally out. Liberty, Mother of Exiles was on HBO last night, 9 o'clock, and I guess so.
It's on HBO
Hopefully.
forever now for the rest of time. But it's
Yeah,
also,
that's right.
you go to the HBOGo and all
Yeah,
that
you can
stuff.
watch it on HBOGo, HBONow, or on demand.
I watched it yesterday, and I really, really enjoyed it. I kept trying, for 3 years now, I've been trying to figure out what the World of Wonder angle was, how they were going to make it sort of pop and make it wow. And you really did a good job. And
James, keep going.
And
Wait, if James liked it, I must have hated it.
No, I hated it.
Okay. No, it's really spectacular, and I think we have a lot to unpack here about the statue and
So
about
this
her
entire
history.
episode
Yes.
is dedicated
To
to
Lady-
Lady Liberty, the top 10 things about Lady Liberty, much that we learned in your
That
documentary.
make us go, wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because there's more to her story than you know,
It's true.
right?
I feel a tagline.
Number 10, Tom.
Number 10.
I guess, it's funny because we all know so much about the Statue of Liberty, or so we think. I mean, it's the fabric of our life. It is a symbol of America, which you do so brilliantly. What this documentary does with a certain celebrity woman who we'll reveal later, it's a deep dive, but don't let that frighten you. It's also very frothy, and it pops
Gossipy.
from gossipy, and it reminded me because it's one of the themes is that Lady Liberty is ours, that she's like the people's.
The people's statue.
And I hope I'm not stepping anything, but there was once the raising for the pedestal for the statue was done through crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding, it was the first example, really, of a very early example of
Yes.
crowdfunding.
By Pulitzer. Joseph
Yes.
Pulitzer was
Pulitzer.
New in publishing, and he put out this thing and so people sent in their shekels and their
It's like
coins.
the Bernie Sanders campaign where they
Yes.
send in 25 cents here,
Yes.
25 cents there, and they ended up raising millions.
And the statue was here, but it needed a pedestal, and the pedestal had to be made. So it's just like little details like that are so thrilling, and you realize how it's inspired people since, I guess, 1886 when it was founded.
Right.
And my angle, it's small, but it's a little bit personal too. It's just like, it comes from France. I guess we all know that, but I was in France, Paris, a number of years ago, more than a decade ago, and I'm walking around, there's street art and there's street photography, the things that you laugh at people who buy. And I saw a picture, and I brought it with me. I know this is radio, but I'll be very descriptive.
Well, it's also on Wow Presents. You can watch on Wow Presents.
On YouTube. But look at this picture.
Oh, wow.
These are the streets.
Is that an actual picture of it when it was being built in France?
And this is the thing. It's a picture. It's a little sleepy French street, and it has a little tiny person in front to give you perspective. It's from early photography from the 1880s, and behind it in scaffolding is the Statue of Liberty.
Cheated up a little bit, there you go, perfect.
And they
It's
say
so
in
massive,
the
right?
documentary they talk about how when it was being built in France, everybody would come around and watch it. It was like the let's go watch Lady Liberty. Let's go see the statue being built.
Right, because you're right. Absolutely, it came from France, but I kind of didn't realize really it was built smack in the middle of Paris. This
Yes.
massive, great statue.
And that was part of its fundraising there. The whole it really is. I mean, the impetus for the documentary is that they have built, and you follow the building of the museum at Liberty Island. Is that correct?
That's right. The sort of the raison d'etre, if you will. The whole documentary started when DVF, Diane von Furstenberg,
Yes.
was tapped to be the fundraiser for this new museum. And she, being very clever, entrepreneurial, she invented the wrap dress and did so much more. She's like, I can raise the money to build this museum, but also she make a documentary.
Yeah.
And then she got it sorted out at HBO, and then Sheila and Evans called us and said, will you make this? So, and I have to tell you, just as a quick aside, like spending the 3 years close to Lady Liberty has kept me sane. Do you know what I mean? Because she is a symbol of hope, and this idea that in these dark times really has been profoundly consoling and truly inspiring.
She talks a lot about being an immigrant herself, and you, Fenton, you are not.
You're a lousy immigrant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, does it mean something different? Does it come to mean something different to you? Does it?
Well, here's a little personal tidbit. I met Randy, my partner at World of Wonder. We met at film school within a few days of being in America, and it was like hot. And we worked together, and the very first film project we had to do at film school was a slideshow, tell a story with a slideshow.
Yes.
And I had Randy Starr in it. He was the actor in it. And I took him out to the Statue of Liberty. So almost the very first thing I ever did
my God.
here was the Statue of Liberty, because it's so...
Your first work, and this is your last work. You'll
Right.
never work again. No, I just thank you, the
Probably,
people of France, inspired by, as it's pointed out in the film beautifully, it was a gift to us, inspired by our freedom, by the freeing of the slaves that had happened just a decade before, and by their love of the Constitution. And isn't this... And what I have to also say, and we can be very strident on the show politically. This is a documentary about liberty and freedom and hope and light, and I think anyone can watch it. It's not skewed politically, I think, in a brilliant way, unless of course you think that liberty and freedom are values that are more held in the Democratic Party. But that's never spoken. It's for everyone. She's for everyone.
She's for everyone. She's the people's statue.
All right,
James, number 9.
Number 9.
My way to go into this to really access it in a James St. Jamesian way was that I fell in love with Bartholdi. I thought
Auguste Bartholdi.
Yes,
who is he?
The sculptor who made the Statue of Liberty. He's just this. Oh, he's so beautiful, just a beautiful, beautiful man, and everything he stands for is absolutely beautiful. And you sort of get to know him. And there's a really great moment in the film where a museum director,
Eve Winkin.
Yes, Eve Winkin. And I'm going to talk about her a little bit later for some other reasons. But at one point, she just absolutely screams, "I think I'm in love with Bartholdi!"
Yes.
And I was like, yes, me too. He's so cute. And also, Eiffel,
Gustave
Eiffel, who
made
did
the Eiffel Tower. Say it like an American. Eiffel.
Yeah,
Gustave Eiffel.
He was the one who, when they needed to figure out the
armature
bones, the bones,
how
of
it-
it,
well, it
how
was-
it would stand, how it would withstand wind.
Right. This is before skyscrapers. This is like how do you make something colossal?
And they talk about how
That
it's
is-
only 2 inches thick. Like, I mean,
Right.
it's
Just
two.
right.
No, it's 2 pennies
Two
thick.
pennies.
The copper skin of Lady Liberty is 2 pennies
Yeah,
thick.
So thin.
And yet she has managed to withstand. They do Hurricane Sandy. They do all of these things, and it's amazing that
Because it's designed to bend in the wind.
Yeah, the ergonomics, the physics of it
Right.
is just But anyway, that's because of Gustave Eiffel, and he's just so handsome.
I have to tell you a funny story though, because when
Sounds
When-
like. Sounds like. Looks like.
I have to tell you a funny story because
Starts with a-
when Bartholdi had this idea to build the biggest statue in the world, he didn't actually know. He knew what it was going to look like on the outside, but he didn't know how it's actually going to make it stand up. And there was some other guy who was going to do it with sandbags, and then he died. And they were like up the creek without a paddle. And that's when they went to Gustave Eiffel, who was like, "Okay, I'll build you a fucking
Do you think that
infrastructure."
Gustave and Bartholdi had an affair? Do you think they were lovers?
In your mind, yes. That's all that matters.
Oh, look, here's
Look within
Randy.
the-
Oh, my God.
wow. Security.
Co-director
Security.
of
Wait,
the
wait. Don't speak
film.
until you're near
Yeah.
a microphone.
We're on number
We're about-
9.
yes.
We're on infrastructure and armature, James's specialty.
Okay, well, I don't want to bust up this party, and I know you guys.
Too late.
You guys don't like having me here, and I try not to take it personally. I just wanted to, but I heard upstairs. I know you try and keep it quiet, and you try and lock me out of everything and information. Then I
And
heard
we're out of
people-
time. We got to take a break.
I heard people saying that you were recording the WoW report and you were going to talk about our, Liberty, Mother of Exiles, and I thought maybe I'd sneak down and just say one thing. Yes. Okay.
Go for it.
Please.
I'm really hoping that people who are listening to this watch this film, especially the people who are listening to this who live in the red states. And I know there are a lot of listeners in the red states.
They're our biggest fans.
Because this film, in spite of what you might think, this film actually isn't a political film.
We talked a little bit about
that. And you know, we're living in an age where there's so much sort of noise, and you kind of want to just shut everything off. And it's fine for you to shut everything off. But on October 17th, turn HBO on and watch this film, because
watch it with your crazy Trump-loving aunt.
Yeah, and watch it with...
It's good family viewing.
It is.
Yeah, watch it with your whole family, because this film is sort of like, during dark times, is a sort of gentle nudge to remind us all of like how great we are and how great our country is. And I'm not your typical flag-waving patriotic guy, but making this film really moved me for 3 years. And I've become, and Fenton knows, I've been such a rag while we were making it, and I'm always like, it's too long, it's this, and we fought. But our best films are the ones we fight the most on, and we fought a lot on this one.
Fuck you.
And it's beautifully crafted. The people who worked on it are DP Hugh, our editors Francie and Langdon.
Beautifully shot.
It's beautifully shot. The music is amazing. David Steinberg. It is.
And as usual, World of Wonder has managed to find the little tiny little nuts out there, the quirky little eccentrics that like add to it.
Add like personality.
Yeah,
and
there's a bunch of little characters that pop in and out that you just they are so endearing and so lovable, and everybody has their own. Everybody loves the statue in their own way.
Exactly, and the statue reminds. But absolutely, and thank you. Yes, but the
Randy
thing
has
is,
a point.
No, wait. And not I think all of our work is patriotic. I think everything we do at World of Wonder is patriotic. But this is the first overtly patriotic thing we've done, and so I really hope a lot of people will get to watch it, and I hope it will, if nothing else, just be a pleasant, gentle sort of nudge and hug during dark times. And that's it. I'm going to go back upstairs because I know there's no room for me.
So, Blake, you'll just cut all that out, right?
Randy Barbato, everyone, co-founder of World of Wonder, co-director of Liberty,
Mother of
Exiles, and that's what we're talking about on the Wow Report this week.
Number 8.
Well, here's an interesting thing. The families used to live on Liberty Island.
Families that worked there, people that worked on
in the park rangers and what have you.
Yes.
What have you. Yes. And the people who looked after the Statue of Liberty.
And they raised families on the island.
Absolutely. And what an amazing place that must have been to live. They had their own postal code. But then, of course, 9/11 happened, and it was a very different environment after 9/11 because security was heightened. There was great apprehension and fear for the statue. It was a target of a terrorist attack.
And there's that little moment in the film where one of the people that had lived there took his boat. I don't think he lived there anymore. And he goes, on 9/11, we went to the Statue of Liberty to make sure she was safe, that no one blew her up. And do you remember the moments after 9/11 when you were like, what's next?
Yeah.
What are they going to take down next?
Yeah.
Is it the Statue of Liberty? Is it this?
Hollywood, is it? Yeah.
Right, and they flew the flag at full mast and they refused
you,
to
Tammy.
take it down. Anyway, after 9/11, no more families were living on the island except one. David Lusinger, who was the superintendent, he was there with his wife, and he was like, "It's ridiculous. Why am I even living here?" It was like a nightmare to get on and off the island, and he said, "You know what would be so great is to build a museum on where these homes are. We can leave the island, build a museum so other people can see it, because the problem with the statue, or the challenge is, the museum used to be in the base of the statue. Again, after 9/11, access to that base was very restricted. So people would go to Statue of Liberty and they couldn't...
They walk around in circles.
Yeah, and they'd be like, oh, now what?
Yeah.
So he had this idea, but there was one problem. All these houses existed, and it's a national park. You can't just go knocking down houses. So then...
He wrote a letter to God.
Lady Liberty steps in, and Hurricane Sandy happened. The strongest Atlantic hurricane on record, and it destroyed his home. It's very, very sad.
All the homes
All
there,
the homes.
the buildings.
Destroyed all. In fact, you know what? It might have destroyed the statue too, but Gustave Eiffel had been so brilliant and prescient and He built the statue to withstand a hurricane that wasn't even contemplatable back in 1860, blah, blah.
Or contemptible. No, I'm sorry.
Contemptible.
I was trying to do it British-wise, but I cut all that out. Like how Fenton
It's all staying in.
Aluminium.
Long story short,
Aluminium.
a long story short, now the houses were destroyed. They could build the museum, and that's what happened, and that's how, and that's
where the whole journey began.
That's
right?
Bay Up. That's what the story.
And seeing that gentleman who's a park ranger who had this idea, who mentioned to someone, and it came true. And he comes at a certain point in the film and gets to see this beautifully situated museum that looks to the back of the Statue of Liberty. It's so many emotional moments.
Well,
and it's all based on, and from the beginning to the end, everyone's had to like fight, dream, and reach above their station to make the Statue of Liberty exist and then continue to exist.
But my favorite thing is, though, when the families who lived on the island and they all get together for a reunion and they all have those pictures and they say that, like, at nighttime when the tourists went home, they would just go play in the statue. They would just go run up and down the stairs and everything.
Wasn't that amazing?
And you used to be able to climb up the statue,
Absolutely,
didn't you?
yes. And you still can, but you have to book months in advance because it's only a few people per day are allowed up because of the security concerns.
I went to her crown in '92, I think.
Right. That was before 9.
Yeah, in 1992.
Yeah.
Can you do that at all?
You can.
You
Yes,
just-
you
it's-
can.
it's very small
You just
groups.
have to book months in
Understand.
advance, and so many people just go out to the island thinking, "Oh, we'll get
I'm
this
getting
statue."
just-
Then
yeah.
they're disappointed, and I think sometimes a little angry. So this is a great solution because they built this marvelous museum. The jewel of which is this giant room where they've put the original torch.
Which we'll
And
talk-
you can see. Yes.
we go along.
Okay, we'll get there.
No,
we'll
it's
get
good.
there.
It's
I'm
really good.
jumping ahead.
No, it's
yes.
good.
Hey, do you guys know what the statue was originally called? Because we all think of the Statue of Liberty. Bartholdi built it for New York, for America. But there was a version of the Statue of Liberty before. What was it called and where was it going to be put?
Okay.
You're listening to Wild on Radio, Andy, Sirius XM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I just want to say, have you caught up on RuPaul's Drag Race UK?
Oh, I am there.
I haven't seen it yet.
What, James? You have Wow Presents Plus.
Don't.
What? It is the $3.99 a month, which is the price of a lot less than a lot.
I need to get it. I do. I think I need some All Presents Plus in my life.
You can also watch both seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race Thailand.
on
Yeah.
Wow
Well,
Presents
then
Plus.
another reason to watch. Another
First month
reason
is free.
to join.
First month is free, James.
Well, there you go.
30
I'm
days for
there.
free.
Just at my budget.
Okay. All right, moving on. We're doing a special celebration of Liberty, Mother of Exiles, the Statue of Liberty film that aired on HBO last night.
And you asked...
You had a question.
I did have a question.
Yeah.
I did have a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Before Lady Liberty, in the harbor of New York, there was an earlier iteration. Do you know what it was called or where it was supposed to be?
I hope it's not a trick question. It's in the film. He'd
Yeah,
gone
we're testing James,
He had
if you
gone.
watched it.
He had gone to the Middle East, right? Your lover Bartholdi, is that his name? And that was the hot picture of him in the Arab wear.
Yes.
But he was initially he was impressed by all the Egyptian stuff and how big and colossal it was. He wanted to make a new colossal. So I think it was for the Suez Canal.
Yes.
And it was called Colossus Welcoming the East or West.
Egypt bringing the light to Asia.
I'm so
Oh,
close.
I
Yeah.
thought it was Mama America.
And it was
Mamma mia.
It was a Muslim peasant woman.
Yep.
That was the shape of the statue holding a torch.
I
Very
love
much,
when
very
they're
similar.
telling that story to the group of students, the group of immigrants, and you can see there's a couple of Muslim girls there, and their eyes just sort of get very big when
Yes.
they're like that they can be a part of it,
Right,
that they were a part of the story.
Well, I think it's especially piquant with the Muslim travel ban, don't you think? I think certain people's
Yeah.
heads are sort of rotating like something out of The Exorcist to know that the origination of a Genesis could well be with a Muslim peasant woman.
Yes.
Suck on that, Stephen Miller.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Number 7.
Yes, thank you.
Number 7.
The torch. Interrupted you before you went into it, but the centerpiece, the reason for this film is because of the museum, and the centerpiece of the museum is the original Statue of Liberty torch, which we get to see up close, we get to see inside, because in 1986, leading up to 1986, there was a huge restoration of the Statue of Liberty, another huge fundraising
and
time.
she'd gotten a little shabby, right?
Yeah.
She'd sort of been falling apart as everything did in the 70s.
Yes, in New York. My personal memory of 1986 was after I graduated from college that year, I was with my singing group, the Harvard Din and Tonics. Haven't mentioned them in weeks. And we went on an East Asian tour after graduation. It was a big deal for the group because we were sort of a young group. And we went to West Coast, and then we went to Japan, to Tokyo, to Seoul, Busan, Korea, to Hong Kong.
Wow.
And we ended up in Beijing in 1986, which was not. People were going there, but it was still pretty
Really
new
early.
for Western.
Yeah.
And on July 4th, 1986, in Chinatown, we performed at the American Embassy.
Were you doing like Tea for Two and
Yes. Up is fascinating rhythm. You got me on the go, fascinating. And we did some. We sang this the start.
by the light of the silvery
But
moon?
we at the ambassador's home, and Betty Bow Lord, who was dressed like the queen of American Airlines, her red, white, and blue outfit, and she brought us into this room, and we sang like Shaboom and our songs for all these guys that looked like Mao to me. I'm not very bright, but it's like proletariat. And that night, going into detail, I had sex with these two beautiful American tourists I had met along the way clandestinely. Like we took bike rides around the Forbidden City and made love in the shower at their Chinese hotel. Got on a plane, flew from, I know this is off topic, but it's a story. I flew from Beijing to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Seattle, Seattle to Boston. My parents picked me up, and it was, because the time changed.
Still July 4th.
July 4th.
Yes.
And we went to our cottage in New Hampshire where we've had, fireworks ever. And on the little TV, because no TVs were there, we watched as the statue, at that wonderful night when they rededicated the Statue of
in
Liberty.
86, the
Yeah.
rededication.
So
where-
I had the longest 4th of July ending with the Statue of Liberty in 1986.
That is fantastic. Sorry, I love that because it's a lovely detail that Reagan, who spoke and in his speech he mentioned two people: Jean Wyatt, this French artisan metalworker, and Anthony Sarachi, this Italian
he's the one
construction
who
guy.
was in the National Geographic.
That's the guy I thought you'd be hot for.
Blown
Yeah.
me down if they're still alive, and we were able to find them. So
Yeah.
it was fabulous to see them restoring the statue in 84, 85, 86, climbing up the
And there's that
scaffolding.
fantastic picture in National Geographic where he's kissing the statue.
Right,
Yeah, he's leaning over and he's kissing the
and he's this hot Italian
Yes,
boy.
well, like short, that's just beautiful.
Just a
And,
Brooklyn
yeah.
Italian.
Let's cut to it. I mean, it was a mob operation.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
were part of a mobsters, and he was told keep a low profile. And he ends up kissing the statue. He ends up in National
It's a
Geographic.
pullout. It's a centerfold.
The president thanks him on TV. He flees. He fled the job, and they went and got him back from Virginia Beach because he thought he was going to end up chopped up in the ocean because he was getting too much of a profile. It was like,
But the original torch, and it's so beautiful. And I know it's weird, but it reminded me of when I saw Apollo 11 and the space modules. The detail and the bolts and it's pieced together.
Yeah.
well, it's funny you mention that. I know we got to move on, but the Statue of Liberty and a rocket ship, they're not so different. They are both technological machines. They are both, because the statue, maybe
Well,
this is the next
it's
thing.
just all about physics, and it's all about
Yes.
the structural integrity
Withstanding the
Yeah.
elements.
Yes, and
it reminded
that's
me a lot
why
of
in
it.
France, there's the original model of the statue sits next door to a rocket capsule. It's in the Museum of Art and Technology because it's a machine.
Yeah.
It's a dream machine.
I love that.
I think. Yeah. All right, moving on. What is number 6?
Number 6.
Please, let's talk about Diane von Furstenberg.
I was gonna say
we should have been number 10 and
I know,
number 1
she's
because
just absolutely mesmerizing. Diane von Furstenberg is is the godmother of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, that's right.
She talks a lot in the documentary. She's our through line. She's the one who sort of takes us on the journey, and we keep going back to her and revisiting her. She tells the story of how she was an immigrant herself, and
Very
how her
touching.
mother was a Holocaust survivor who was at Auschwitz, and she used to call her little torch of liberty. Or
Yes.
she
Well, her mother was in Auschwitz, was like 80 pounds when she was released,
Yeah.
told she wouldn't live, A, B, should never have children, and 2 years after being released, she had Diane von Furstenberg. And so
she was her miracle baby.
Yes.
And
gets me
I know
choked up every time.
Diane is absolutely. She's somebody that I've always loved. She's an icon for a reason, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a marvelous scene in the movie where there's a museum director, and she's so excited because she bought herself a little Diane von
she goes to
Furstenberg.
France because Diane travels all over the world.
She's going to meet this museum director.
Yes,
in
this little town in
this little
France.
tiny town in France, and the museum director has bought a Diane von Furstenberg
Wrap dress.
and she's so proud of herself.
Yes.
And she's standing there waiting to meet Diane, and Diane walks in and sees her, and she says, "Oh, how lovely! You're wearing my dress." And then she goes and rearranges
Without speaking, she just, but sort of subconsciously, she undoes the tie, reties it the way.
and just like does a little editorial makeover,
Which
on
I
the
see
woman.
as such a gesture of love, right?
Yes.
Yes.
This is,
God, it made me want to rush out, put on a wrap dress, and have her tie me up.
It's a little bit like being in
it's
art
quite-
class and having Picasso come in and say, "Just
Yeah.
do this, do this." Like,
Put in a second eye.
Yeah, a little bit over
Third eye.
here.
It's very intimate. and
She's so
lovely.
fabulous, and she's just Dion all the way through. There's another point where there's this a mayor, and he's having a party for her.
Yes.
And she comes, and they're all like, you know, in their
They
best
got very dressed
They're
up.
very dressed. And he says, "You're very casual." She's like in
But
jeans.
that's the genius of Randy Fenton, because you could cut that part out and do the formal hello, but you get the little little sides.
Yeah, he looks at her and he says, "You're very casual,
Was
aren't
that
you?"
relax?
And then she says, "Can I have some water?" And he was like, "You're sober." It's like this whole little thing, like with it's just the dynamics.
Yes.
Whenever she relates to anybody, she is so fascinating to watch. And she gives you exactly what you need for each scene, and that's and then. There's one scene where she's sort of like standing there in the sun, and then she says, "Okay, enough. That's it." And they're like, "Hey, okay, we're done. We're done." She knows what she needs to give, and she gives it to you.
She knows where her light is. I'll tell you that day we toured the construction site, she found that light. And it was like, ready. I'm ready for my close-up. and then a marvelous moment that Randy spotted was when we went with her to the New York Public Library to look at Bartholdi's
I love
diary.
those, too.
Oh my God, the entrance. I mean,
I was gonna say it was like I can't believe you didn't have like
Supermodel work.
something like that, because she's walking through the New York Public Library, and you can just see everybody's heads spinning, swiveling.
It's a breathtaking sequence.
Yeah.
And then she finds this tiny little diary, which everyone's remarking like, "Oh, it's so small, it's so tiny." And I thought, like, it's kind of the size of a smartphone when you think about it. It's just interesting. Like we've gone from little things to little things,
right?
But it's kind of amazing.
It's Bartholdi's diary, and she's of course
It's his journey, and their people are so articulate, and she can speak. She's speaking.
Yeah,
she's translating it from French to English, and that's another moment where she's like, "You're lucky I speak French." And she goes on. I will only say just to because when I first heard Diane von Furstenberg, Lady Liberty, I thought, they're just going to put it in a wrap dress, but she is truly the godmother of this project. The museum, she raised $200 million by taking some of the
old armature bars and turning them into stars.
and sold the stars for
my
$2
sister
million
bought-
each.
My sister bought one of the stars. My sister is
She has $2 million?
No, but there was. It seems like there were lower tiers.
Oh,
or
really?
something.
Okay. Maybe
Because
she contributed. There was a public funding
I
campaign.
think that's what she was.
Do you know what's
yeah.
interesting? And I think this is, like, James, tell me what you think.
She has $2
she
million.
seems, she's, well, it's,
Not anymore.
Diane von Furstenberg is, she's a billionairess, right? She and takes some stick, I think, for being part of the elite. But she is so about, I think this is her magic quality. There's no airs and graces. She is absolutely who she is, gives you who she is. She believes people are equal. So rich or poor, it doesn't make any difference to her. And I think that she
great
uses
scene.
her platform and her power to raise the money for this museum. But there's no entitlement. There's no kind of. She's very.
When she's talking to the street artist Dennis on the street, and she just sort of stumbles across him, and she just treats him as if he might be Picasso. I mean, like there's no like you're a street artist.
She made it. You might make it too. You have that feeling.
And he says how much. She says how much is that, and he says 500, and she's like yes, of course. Yes. And she gives it. There's no like. She
haggled him down to $495. Okay.
And then at the end she gets into a green chauffeured Bentley and drives off. But I think to me the point is it's not all about. We are all equal, even in our inequality. It's like what am I trying to say? Like she's a humanist, and that's the whole point about what Lady Liberty stands for. Not that we're all identical. We're all individuals. But we're all equal.
There's another interesting
it's
thing
the
that
preamble of the
happens
Constitution.
when you go to China and you're at the factory,
right.
and every single person in China is trying to interpret what Lady Liberty is, and some of them are saying, well, it's sort of like Confucius is, it's sort of like the mother of the country, and everybody has a different idea of
connection to it.
Everybody has a different connection to it. Everybody all over the world has a different connection to it, and it's fascinating.
Which brings us to, I think, our next topic, Fenton.
Number 5.
The Pedestal Poem.
Number 5.
So, in this process, thank you. In this process, you have Laboulaye coming up with the idea of creating a monument. Then you have Auguste Bartholdi, like, let's build the biggest statue in the world. Then you have Gustave Eiffel figuring out how to make it stand up. And then you have Pulitzer figuring out a way to raise the money to build the pedestal to put the statue on. And then you have Emma Lazarus, who wrote this world-famous poem that is so beautiful. And here's what I got to say. In a famous scene that's in the film, Jim Acosta from CNN gets into an argument with Stephen Miller, the notorious racist, because Stephen Miller tries to argue that the poem was an afterthought.
Yeah, just tacked on.
And that it isn't integral to the statue.
Or integral to the message of America.
Exactly. Now, this is a very deliberate lie. It's not simply misspeaking. It is a deliberate lie. Here's what happened. To raise the money to build the pedestal.
Fundraising.
People were giving their money. Emma Lazarus was approached. Will you write a poem that we can publish in the paper to encourage people to donate? And she said yes. And she wrote that poem before the pedestal was built. And her poem helped raise money to get the pedestal for the statue to go on top. Because if that hadn't happened, there'd be no statue.
Right. It'd be in pieces and crates all around.
And where Stephen Miller is right, but so willfully distorting truth, is he's right in that the poem itself wasn't inscribed on the statue until 1903. But the truth is, the poem is integral to the statue from its inception. This also, remember, is an idea that took 21 years from the first idea until it was actually built. It was 21 years. It wasn't like, let's build a statue, ta-da, it's done. 21 years. So the fact that the poem only got inscribed on the statue,
things take some time.
It's time. So, and it is my favorite line, there's many favorite lines in the poem. My favorite line is, from her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Because that's the whole point about the statue. And that's why it stands in complete contrast and opposition to, it's about welcoming people in, bringing them in, come one, come all, versus building a wall to keep people out.
You're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses yearning to be free.
In grade school, indulge me, I learned this song, which is the thing, and we imagine the little 6th graders singing this, which is, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless tempest tossed to me, I lift my lamp beside the golden door. But I remember being a kid and singing that with full voice, no accompaniment in our gymnasium, and tears coming to my eyes, because, I didn't know the world, but it's such a beautiful message, and it just builds and grows. And what an amazing American piece of literature.
Lovely. Let's take a break. Tissues at the ready. Blake, have you got a question for us?
I do have a question. James, maybe you'll know this one.
Yeah.
What early DC comic book heroine got her powers from the Statue of Liberty?
What?
Ooh.
Feels like if anyone knows this, it should be James St. James.
You're listening to Wow Report on Radio Andy. We'll be right back.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and James, and we're doing a little special edition celebrating Liberty, Mother of Exiles.
A documentary on HBO that Randy and Fenton. Every time Fenton hasn't been here for the past 3 years, he's been somewhere in the world shooting this documentary.
DVF.
And it's all come together, and we've all got to see it. You can see it on HBO Go or Max or On Demand. And we're counting down the top 10 things about Lady Liberty that we all know and love and make us go,
Wow.
Blake, you have a question.
I do. I asked what early DC comic book heroine got her powers from the Statue of Liberty?
Well, it wasn't Wonder Woman.
I only know Wonder Woman.
Her name was Miss America.
Oh, she's one of the freedom fighters, and there was Uncle Sam and Miss America, and there were a couple. Yeah, they were. Yeah, I remember that.
They haven't made a movie.
They were
Coming
like
to
in
the
1950s.
CW soon, Miss America.
They were from the 50s and 60s. That was a group.
Number 4, Tom.
Number 4.
This documentary takes you in so many unexpected places, which I hope we're getting across. You go to China where they manufacture the tchotchkes. We go. It's you never know where the next turn, where Miss von Furstenberg is going to go. We're going to see, and there's a pleasant. I remember this, but not until I saw it. David Copperfield makes an appearance in the documentary because yes,
The magician,
who's still around, very handsome.
Yeah.
And the clip is hilarious. But remember, he made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I watched it on TV
You did?
at the time. Yes, I was. Yeah.
And so the story goes, and you'll see it yourself. But he approached whoever he needed to, like the Statue of Liberty. And they're like, "No, you're gonna make fun of it. It's not okay." And he was friends with the Reagans. Okay. And he said, "No, I'm gonna make this special. I'm gonna make this about Lady Liberty. I'm gonna make this, draw attention to her and to the cause." And so the Reagans stepped in and helped him make that special.
Now, and we see the statue disappear. We actually watch it. And how did it happen?
Do you know how he did it?
I think
Well,
I
it
do,
was
but I
probably
don't
like
think
a
we should- I
green
don't
screen or
know.
something.
I
It
know,
was a
right?
picture, and then because
Look, here's the thing.
There's two.
Well,
things.
here's the thing. David says that
I love it when you
the
do
statue
that.
is hollow. The statue is is about perception. It's sort of a sleight of hand in a way, because you look at it, it's a colossus. It looks so solid, and yet it's hollow. It's very fragile, 2 pennies thick. And what he did as a magician is similar. He shifted your perceptions. And that's why I feel comfortable revealing it. You can Google it, actually.
Okay.
And maybe you just should. But
Did he just move the?
yeah,
the
it's
whole
a-
stage,
The in-
and then you see the Statue of Liberty in the back, and they put up a curtain. And I guess while the curtain was up, in a way that you could not perceive,
The
the
stage
stage slowly moved.
So the crowd watching, when the curtain comes down, they're looking out to sea, and there's nothing. The statue is still there. It's just over there on the right.
Right.
And I mean, it's brilliant, because what it ultimately
And nobody
illustrates...
felt the stage
No.
moving? That is
No.
so interesting.
Either that or they were immediately taken off and assassinated. Look, the thing is, liberty is fragile. It's an idea, ultimately. This is an idea. It's a big statue, yes, but it's not a solid thing. It's not something you can take for granted. I thought it was a piece of art on a level with Banksy, of sort of challenging our perceptions and just magic, really. That is magic.
I thought it was green screen or something. I didn't realize that.
Maybe you're right.
I'll post it on the Wow Report.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Love
Yes.
it.
Number 3, James.
Number 3.
Amanda Liberty is. When Randy was here, I was talking about how World of Wonder always manages to find the eccentrics and the people who give the film a little color. And she's. Tell me about her. Where did you
You go to
find
Las
her?
Vegas.
She's she's a Brit who changed her name by deed poll to Liberty. She has not a fixation, not a fetish. She has a relationship with the statue and loves the statue so much. And she is part of the Statue of Liberty Collectors Club, who meet every couple of years. And enthusiasts of the statue, sweet group of people. And their meeting this year was in Vegas, at New York, with
It has a
the
statue.
giant
of Liberty.
Statue
Right,
of Liberty.
right.
I mean, that was the thing. I swear to you, Lady Liberty organized this whole film. We couldn't figure it out ourselves, but she did. I mean,
She's sort of Cockney or something.
Yes.
She's got this lovely accent, and she just she dresses like the
Spoiler alert, she's in full Lady Liberty drag
yeah.
thing.
There's a
torch
scene,
book.
actually.
She never puts it down. I'm sure she does at some point, but every time she's on camera for quite a long period of time. She's always in like torch mode.
And at first, I think you think she's a bit crazy, but then you really come to love her, and
We love crazy. I think she's crazy, and I love her.
Yeah.
There's
Right?
a scene actually that's not in the film. We'll post on the Wow Report of Amanda Liberty hanging out with Amanda, who is also a Statue of Liberty impersonator, and they get together and they get dressed and they go out on the strip. It was just an embarrassment of riches and couldn't fit everything in. But she's lovely. I've heard subsequently, by the way, that Amanda Liberty has subsequently fallen in love with a chandelier. So I think we.
I saw that too. She and named it Lumiere.
Something like that.
After the Beauty and the Beast character.
But, you
Sounds
know,
like a Sia song to me.
the journey continues.
Number 2.
Number 2, Dennis Ouch.
Ouch.
Ouch. Dennis Ouch.
So handsome.
Oh my God. Went to the Museum of Modern Art to see the. No. Dennis Ouch. I mean, Dennis Ouch is a Russian street graffiti artist who's, I swear to you, he's like the new Warhol, right? He just silkscreen prints, little Banksy-esque.
Now, when you found him, because there's a scene in the movie where Diane sees him on the street, and she sort of pulls over the car, and she gets out and she starts talking to him, and he's selling prints on the street of his art, and they have this great back and forth. But is that when you found him, or how did World of Wonder stumble across Dennis Ouch?
I came across him when I went to the Museum of Modern Art one day to look at the McQueen film that's inside the museum, and I was like, well, that's great, but it's a helicopter shot going around the museum, the Statue of Liberty. Came out, and there was this guy selling these great prints of the Statue of Liberty naked, the Statue of Liberty wrapped up in police tape, in barbed wire, and they're printed on old subway maps. And I was like, oh my God, this is great, because, I love bright, shiny things.
Yes, you do.
And I just mentioned it to Diane. I said, she was talking about art and how many artists have painted the statue, which of course they have. And I said, oh, you should check out this guy. So off we went, and she's so smart, because she brought some bags, and she's like, when they met for the first time, she's like, Dennis, would you screen print a Statue of Liberty on these bags?
And they were
for me?"
DVF bags, right?
Yes. So I'm never missing a trick. Absolutely. And in fact, you may notice when she went to Colmar to meet Isabel at the
wrap
Bartholdi's
dress,
home
yeah.
with the wrap dress, Diane had over her shoulder one of these women in charge bags, which had Dennis Ouch's Statue of Liberty printed on.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't catch that.
Well, we've been very lucky here at World of Wonder in these past 3 years because you have purchased a number of supersized Dennis Ouches, and they hang in the hallway, and it sort of felt like a primer, like we were getting immersed in the the 3D surreal experience. And now I know exactly where they come from and their backstory, and they're really beautiful.
He's another one who's just he's very handsome and he's very well spoken, and he sucks you into his little story, and you wish you could do documentaries about any one of these people. Right. You could do it at Diane, you could do it Amanda Liberty, you could do a Dennis Ouch documentary.
And here's the beauty of Dennis. Everyone's story, everyone who's interviewed, everyone who's clipped a scene, including that awful Miller guy, they have like a little, it's like a passport stamp of where they come from or their immediate ancestors come from. And it's that touches me every time it pops up. Because we all come from someplace else.
Right. I mean, there's almost 70
right?
70 people we interviewed. Almost every single one came from somewhere else. In fact, the only people who come from here are the Native Americans. And that I feel is a different story, and it's not a particularly great story. That thanks to the sort of wave of immigration after, the people who own this land were sort of basically wiped out of it and disowned of it, and that's not a great story. But
in moving forward, you can't go back. You can't go backwards. But you can move forward and being welcoming and finding unity. I mean, that's the best we can do, right? Life's complicated.
Well, and we had a gallery show here in this very gallery with Dennis Ouch.
Yes. We should put a clip up on that. We filmed that too.
Yeah.
There's so many things we couldn't fit into the film. I mean, I thought it was like sort of, I don't know if it could have been longer. I think it's quite long enough. It's only 84 minutes.
You need bits and pieces I would want to immerse myself in all those deleted scenes. I hope they're available at some point.
They will be. And you also, I think you need to know the scale of it, the sense of many, many people coming from many different places over many different generations.
Yes.
All right. We got to take one more break. We'll be right back with the number one thing about Lady Liberty that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back. Tom, what is the number one thing? We've been counting down in celebration of Liberty, Mother of Exiles, an HBO documentary we've been making for the last few years.
It's a beautiful documentary that you must see. Randy and Fenton created it and directed it, and
Number one.
I was lucky enough to join Fenton and Randy. You were not there this time at the premiere party in New York that HBO had. But you can't be everywhere.
No, yeah, I can't be invited.
You can't be home in bed watching Netflix.
I had some General
Watching
Hospital.
Dark
It was very
Shadows.
impossible. It was very important.
Oh, we
And
did so well.
Thank you, Fenton, for recognizing how important my soaps are to me and not bothering me to.
I hear
to have
Carly's having a difficult pregnancy on General Hospital. Is that right? Is
She just gave birth, and
It's okay? Everything's
the
okay?
baby has spina bifida, but she's
Okay,
gonna be
good.
fine.
But the party was kind of amazing. Here's what happened. It
Please
was
tell me
in
about how
Lincoln
this fabulous
Center.
party that I wasn't invited to.
And I went to and I sat down, and at one point my friend Elena was there, and we were talking, and she was sort of keeping something out of her seat, and they finally were like,
Am I an embarrassment? Is that what this is? Would you
No.
not
what
know
do you
what
think?
I would wear?
What do you think? Oh, we know what you'd wear.
It would be
Oh, we
fabulous,
know what
James.
you'd
We
wear.
would love you to have been there, but we couldn't,
It was in New York. You live in LA.
You could afford it, maybe. You couldn't.
It's not safe for you to fly right now, darling.
Anyway, no, please tell me. Who was there? Was An Duong there? Was my idol there?
Fran Lebowitz was there.
Fran Lebowitz was there.
Well, the best part, Fran, this is my gossip, and I hope I don't get anybody in trouble. But at 7:12, the thing is supposed to start at 7. The head of HBO comes down, and Fran Lebowitz, who's sitting by herself with 2 empty seats, knocks the head of HBO and goes, "When's this starting?" It's 7:12.
Oh,
We're like,
because I thought
it'll
they
be
showed
right
Bob
here.
Coachella,
It'll be
too.
right here.
Yeah, Bob Coachella was there. Did he meet? Yeah.
There's a lot of people, and my favorite part was because there was all these people sitting around. You don't know who they were, and as you watch the documentary, and it includes high and low and people who lived on the islands and construction workers and Dennis Ouch, from is that his name? Dennis? Did I say it right? Dennis Ouch from Russia. And all these things. And when the lights came up after the thing, we're all kind of teary. I look around, and they're all around me. It's like the people next to me were the people that lived on the island and had the pictures of the kids. And Dennis Ouch is behind me with his beautiful model. I don't know what the relationship was, but just all of this all this beauty just popped up around me, and it became real. And it was.
Give me some other names. Who else was there?
the families who lived on the island.
Wait,
the
was
Lippets
this,
and
was
the
this the
Pinkos.
Oprah one? Was this was Oprah there? Was this the...
Oprah was not. DVF was there with Barry Diller.
Barry Diller was there.
Well, yes.
Carson Kressley was there. I sat with Carson. It was
Oh,
delightful
nice.
to see
Okay.
him.
David Copperfield was there.
Fran Lebowitz is a pretty big.
Oh,
Sighting.
Fran, no, I know.
Hello.
I've never met Fran. I've always wanted to meet Fran.
Oh, she's amazing.
Did you have a conversation
I did,
with her?
because
Did
I-
she dropped some bombos?
She certainly did, because she was sort of saying, she was talking about how, slightly off topic, but how information is not knowledge. You know, because she doesn't have a computer and she doesn't use the internet. And we were just talking about like how everything's available to you now. And she says, yes, but information is not knowledge. And that the sort of the missing element is context, that where you can take all this data and put it in some kind of critical, organized framework.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not wisdom. It's not. Yeah, I understand.
Right.
But it is quite intimidating to talk to her because you got to be on your game.
Yes,
you can't be
certainly
like
do. You can't have a couple cocktails.
Right.
Starting.
And
This is
feel
starting at
like-
7:12. When's it starting? I got places to be.
And had you met Bob Coachella too?
I have, yes. We filmed him a few times, and he's just fantastic. He was in Maplethorpe.
Oh,
film,
yeah, that's right, sure.
As was Fran Lebowitz.
Now,
which she
who-
told
who
me
is-
she'd never watched.
Who is Bob Coachella?
He was Warhol's consigliere.
It's like the Boswell to Samuel Johnson, right?
Yeah, he worked at Interview, and he has written a number of biographies about Andy Warhol, and he's sort of a man about town.
And who's the photographer? Is also included in the film is that famous picture of John Lennon in front of the Statue
Bob
of Liberty.
Gruen.
That is him. That's him.
yeah.
Yes. And sitting next to me also was Carlos. Carlo
McCormick.
was
Oh,
there.
Carl McCormick,
yes.
does he still have long hair?
Yes.
Really?
It was such a funny mix because he was like, he's sort of hippie looking and he had a hat.
He's
and,
a hippie,
And we
yeah.
sort of stole his booth. It was in the Swank. It was,
He was the
at
East
the
Village
Lincoln.
Eye.
And then we all got to talk and everybody there had some really wonderful connection
And
to the
Carlos,
film and
yes,
to Randy
and
Fenton.
Zoltan
What is
was
Carl
there.
McCormick
Zoltan
doing
was-
now?
He is an art critic, and with a particular penchant for the Statue of Liberty, as it so turns out.
I'll be
So
down.
it was more than your usual Hollywood. It was New York, obviously. But it wasn't a Hollywood kind of screening where people were just blah blah. It was like a real mix of minds and passions and intertwined with Randy and Fenton's history. It was a beautiful
Maybe
night.
someday I'll be able to go to a party like that.
Well, they're embarrassed by you.
Thanks for tuning into the Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM. Listen to previous episodes on
Oh, you
iPod.
can't go. We both can't be in the. It's either you or me.
One
They
or
break
the
us
other.
up. We can't.
I-
Hi, James and Tom are here.
I tell you, as soon as I read this intro, I am going to flee the studio as fast as I can. Yes, watch previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Wow Presents. Same time, same place, unless James has not gone ahead and done next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
Wow. Bye.